Good morning, everyone. Just wanted to come on real quick this morning and just talk about some things that I think that we need to really pay attention to. Now, I might not be the only one that sees things this way, but um, as I've been paying attention, doing my own research, I don't really pay attention to the news, the television news. Um, YouTube has been a source for me. And the only reason why I say that is because you can't, of course, you cannot believe everything you see on YouTube. But when you do watch a lot of vlogs, you're seeing firsthand from the people that are experiencing what is going on in their city, what is going on in their town firsthand. A lot of things the news will not cover because they do not want us to be aware of. And a lot of times they don't want people to panic. They wait till the last minute till things go just so bad that, you know, it's like, their plan is and always will be order out of chaos. So with that said, I just wanted to address some things. So maybe about 2 years ago, I was walking around in the neighborhood I was living in, and I started to notice a lot of things. So I have 7 children, 3 of them being boys, 4 of them being girls. And I noticed that in the neighborhood where I was at, there was a park directly across the street from where we lived. And in that park, there was also it was a church. It's not a Catholic church. It's just like a Christian, like a very strict Christian, I want to say Pentecostal or something like that, church. And they also had a school. So the school also used that park. Now, I will say it was majority white kids who attended this private school. You had like a sprinkle of black people, here or there, but it was majority white. So in that park, I noticed that there was a volleyball area, a soccer area, and like a little, like the little playground, like the monkey bars and stuff for the kids. And maybe children from age, you want to say like young, like, from little toddler to maybe no older than 14. And then they did have the basketball courts, but the rims were taking off the backboard. So there was nothing, um, there was no backboard or rim for the kids to play basketball. So as I walked around and I looked and I, kind of looked around the neighborhood, it really began to bother me because in my spirit I felt like there was nothing there for the children to do to be productive. Right? Now there's apartment area that is income based, not too far away from the park, like that directly across the street from the park, actually. And I noticed that, of course, there's a lot of kids there. So at times there would be, some crimes and some violent crimes that would go on there. Some nights you would hear gunshots and different things like that. And, it kind of had me thinking, I would ask around the neighborhood why the rims were taking off the basketball court. Now, my son, my oldest son, who will be 22 this month, he told me that those are one of the parks that him and his friends used to go to, and they used to have like basketball tournaments and stuff like that. And they used to play ball, and they really used to have a good time. And sometimes they'd be play ball till late night. Now, next to the park was 2 to 3 homes. And their backyard was the park. Of course, their houses, their gates and stuff were fenced, but their backyard was the park. And the park was there before they moved there as well. So as I started to walk around the neighborhood, I would look around and I would just be like, you know what, this is so sad. I remember I would walk to try and take off some weight or whatever. So I would walk around the neighborhood and I would just look and I would say, it's so sad that there's nothing here for these kids to do, especially children that like to play basketball, because I know it's not only black children, black and brown children that, want to play ball. And then I began to look around and just notice how the area was changing. And, me living in this place, coming from New York City, I currently live in Delaware. I wanted to make a documentary talking about the other side of gentrification. And the reason why I wanted to do that was because the neighborhood began to change. The prices were going up and things were becoming more expensive in this place where there's not many opportunities for the kids. There's not many jobs. The jobs that you do have, they're factory and warehouse jobs, and those are the jobs that seem to pay the most, unless you drive maybe an hour and a half away to the city, which is Wilmington, where the bank jobs are. So, it began to kind of like bother me because I just noticed how it was a very stagnated place. You know what I mean? And I just began to feel bad. You know what I mean? Like, why would anybody want to take the basketball courts down in the park so the youth wouldn't have anything to do? And granted, I understand that, sometimes people end up fighting and different things like that for the basketball courts. But from my understanding was the neighbors were complaining and saying, oh, they were being too loud. So my thing is, you move next to a park and you complain about the noise, right? When the park is supposed to be for children to express themselves and to enjoy themselves, but you choose to move next to a basketball court. Where does that make sense? Anyway, and so I began to pay attention to what was going on around the world. Coming from New York City, you know that in today's time, trying to live there and raise kids is extremely expensive. If you did not get your house while you were young or inherited it and, fixed it up or whatever and made it work for you, and if you weren't set up financially like that, it will really, really, really cost to live there. So, it's pretty much not worth it. So, I started noticing more and more people, especially because I run my own business. A lot of my clientele was coming here from New York City. And, I was looking at the fact that, these people were leaving what they had because this is before the pandemic. These people were, kind of like leaving the opportunities in New York to come here to a slower place, to escape the expensive lifestyle. So as things began to change, I began to say, wow, all these different people moving here, they're bringing their kid. The story of Delaware is that, it's supposed to be a retirement state. And I'm looking at it and I'm saying it's no longer a retirement state because people are moving here. And not even that. I have children. None of them retire. I'm not retirement age. So why are we labeling this place a retirement state? Why are we doing that? There's a whole rail train by this park that I'm talking about. Right in front of it is a train track. It looks like it goes, who knows where the train goes, but it comes through, it's like a cargo train, right? And I'm saying, so that the people can afford to live and to work and live decent, why not have the train go from DC to New York or whatever so people can live a decent life? And this shows you a lot about the government. This shows you a lot about the places where the politics and everything like that. Because when you look at the situations that are going on in the world, you really begin to realize that these people do not care about you because they're not trying to make your life any easier. For them, it is all about the rich and the poor. And it's not set up for us to make it. It's set up for oppression. And I said I wanted to make a documentary because, and this was a couple of years ago, as I said before, because I wanted to show the other side of gentrification. How when people come from a city like New York and they sell their house in the hood for $700,000, $600,000, and they come to Delaware and the houses are $200 or $300, or whatever like that, and they come by two and they pay cash for it. That makes the market value go up, and the people that work here cannot afford to live here because they're not making that type of money. If you purchase a house that high and you're making and minimum wage is what, like I think minimum wage here is maybe still like $8, but Walmart currently is paying 11, and Target is paying 15 since the pandemic because they've made so much money. I'm looking at it and I'm saying to myself, right? How do you buy a house making what these people are paying you, what the government has said is enough to live, when you have mothers? You have some single mothers that are out here. They don't want to live in income-based housing. Some of them don't mind to live in income-based housing, but the waiting lists are so long. So now you're pushing people to try and work 2 and 3 jobs. Meanwhile, they got to pay childcare if their kids is under age, and not even that, if they have to stay at work longer than when their kids get out of school. You understand what I'm saying? So we have to understand the days and times that we are living in. We have to understand that this system is not built for us to make it. You know, that's one of the reasons why I decided to make this video, because, you know, I plan on coming out with a podcast. I know that they say everyone has a podcast. Well, I'm me. I'm not everybody. I don't care what everybody does. I'm a beautician. I braid hair. Guess what they say? Everybody braids hair. But God sends me my clients, and he keeps me prosperous in my business and what I do, because that's what I'm called to do. I believe I'm called to talk and to express myself. Not everybody wants to listen. Not everybody has to listen. We have choices. But a lot of times God will direct you in the direction you need to go with people who can relate. And I'm pretty sure there are people that are able to relate with the other side of gentrification. Those of you who do not live in the cities. Those of you who decided, okay, I'm going to take my family to try and go and live where it's affordable. And now what we have due to the pandemic is everybody who ran to the cities to decide to live in the cities, now they are leaving the cities. Majority of them have voted Democrat. You understand what I'm saying? And now what is happening in their cities is that their cities are being destroyed, because they're realizing, and they're now seeing with the homelessness and the closing down of your businesses that you run to go to the city to experience. You understand what I'm saying? It's now being closed down. They're in control. So now what do? You take the money that you have, you sell, and you come to places like this. You buy the stuff cash. Not even that. They're outbidding. And I'm not saying that, I'm not speaking down on anybody else's success. What I'm saying is that if your politicians cared about you, they would put a cap, okay, for their residents, or what other people could come and do. Because the economy, they don't want the economy to be equaled out, okay? They don't care. I'm looking at Los Angeles. How do you think those people got there? When you see Skid Row, when you see 10 cities, yes, that's a lot of people who decided they wanted to come because they wanted to try and make it because of the stories that they see sold online to them. The things that they see on TV to make you think that these places are so wonderful and that you have a chance, right? And there's nothing wrong with dreaming. But what happens is that these people get there and they realize that it's a struggle. That half of the people that's living in LA, they probably can't afford to live in what they live in unless they have inherited their homes, unless they are living with their parents, unless they have 3-4 roommates. You're being sold a lie. So now you go there, you see all these people on Skid Row. You see how the homelessness is taking over Venice Beach. You see everything that's going on. And you say to yourself, why would I want to live here? Right? Why would I want to live here and pay all this money when I'm pretty sure in LA a house in the hood is going for $1 million? It's all inflation. Now, if they're paying their people in LA $12 an hour, $15 an hour, where can they afford to buy a house without neglecting or sacrificing their family and sacrificing the time, in order to build somebody else's kingdom while we're only looked at as the peasants? The problem is that we don't see ourselves as who God made us to be. We allow people to control our worth. We allow people to put these caps on who we are. And understand, the word is allow. We allow them to tell us that they're going to pay us this for our 40 hours a week, and then I have to wait 2 weeks for my paycheck. They allow us off 2 days or 1 day out the week. This is where we have to open up our eyes and realize that there's nothing wrong with being an entrepreneur. There's nothing wrong with starting your own business. There's nothing wrong with that. Because the person that you choose to work for, you're working for someone who decided to start a business. And you can't never think that the person who started their business is going to give you a big chunk of their money unless you're putting in financially. They don't respect your time. Time is priceless. Time is priceless. And the way the system is set up for slavery. It's set up for slavery. When a mother has to leave her kids at a daycare where she has to pay probably about $150 per child per week to go make $8, $9 an hour, to slave for 40 hours a week for the majority of her paycheck to go to child care. Let me tell you something. That's a reason why I would not go back out after I had my kids. I would not go out and I would not go to work for nobody. I didn't care what nobody said. Because I refused to go slave, to be away from my kids, to be stressed out so that I could go work to pay daycare. Who told me I had to do that? Those are the world standards. Those are standards that they try to put on us, that they try to cap on us to make us feel like if we're not doing things the way they say, oh, we're lazy, oh, we don't want to. No, that's not it. I'm not going to allow you to make me feel like that's all I have to offer. Because when you give these people 10 years, 11 years, 12 years, 13 years, and God forbid something that happens, they drop you like a dime and forget about all the years that you put in. Now you got to go beg the government, the state, for unemployment, and they don't even want to pay you what you was making. When do we wake up to understand that this is not right and we learn to fight against the system? So you know what we do? We look at the houses and we say, first of all, you want to sell me a house for $300,000 or $400,000. It didn't even take a quarter of that to build the house. Right? Then you want me to pay this big mortgage for 30 years of my life, which means that if I choose to do that, I'm choosing to be somebody's slave for the next 30 years. And I won't even, the person will probably be dead before they can get anything out of the house that they're living to pay for. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? I never used to understand. I lived in 2 beautiful homes that I was renting, right? And I lived in 2 beautiful homes, right? Both homes, while we were paying rent, foreclosed while we were there paying the full rent. Never missed rent. And I couldn't understand why these people would just up and leave their home. One was a man who was, he was retired and everything. His wife had passed away. I don't know if it was, he didn't want to live in the house anymore, but either way. So while he's there taking our money, mind you, he's older than us. He's like in his 70s or 80s. He's older than us, black man. He sees us as a family. At that time, it was me and my husband and our 7 children. We're paying you your rent every month, and you decide for 2 years that we're there not to pay your taxes, and you don't care what happens to the house. But instead of coming to us and saying, hey, I plan on letting the house go, or I plan on selling the house or whatever, you just constantly take the money, and don't care what happens to us. Not to say that he had to care, but I'm just talking about morals and decency and how people, it means nothing to them when they're in a better situation. And you have to understand that's what you're dealing with when you deal with these politics and these politicians. Their family is taken care of. We're nothing but peasants to them. In their eyes, we're in the way. They don't care about us. The same thing is happening in California with all these people that are homeless in these 10 cities. Why is anybody surprised? Now they're making a mass exodus to Texas, to Florida. And the same thing's going to happen because you know what's going to happen? They're going to go there. They're going to vote all the same way they were voting in California, which caused cause what was happening in California. The same thing, and those people in Texas and Florida and all those places, they're going to experience the same thing. Because now that people are coming into these areas and they're paying cash, oh, that house is $500,000. Oh, and it's a 4-bedroom. Oh my, I couldn't even get that in New York. You understand what I'm saying? I'm sorry, 500,000. Oh, that house, that 4-bedroom house in Orlando is $300,000. Oh, let me get 2, and I'll just rent out 1. As in, what happens in that area? It goes up. And if somebody in the area is bidding on that house that might have been $300,000, and then one of the people from the other state coming in like, oh, I got about $2 million, I'm good, you know what I'm saying, and I'm approved for this, and I could put down this amount, and they're outbidding the people that live in the area who cannot afford that. What do you think happens? There's job loss. There's so much going on right now. I need everybody to pay attention to understand that this is going to trickle down to the East Coast. California looks like a third world country. It's sad. But if this is America, nobody should be experiencing homelessness. All of these homes that they can build so quickly to sell to people. I need y'all to pay attention. I understand that the time that we're living in. And I just wanted to get that off my chest. I have plenty other things to get off my chest. Hopefully I can start my podcast soon. And I will be announcing it on this channel so that you guys can tune in. But other than that, I pray that you guys are doing well. There's a lot going on right now. So, I hope that you guys take it easy. Until then, stay blessed.